All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Bobby Lynn Kekik. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Director for New Student Programs.
Hi, everyone. My name is Caroline Horn, and I am the Assistant Director for New Student Programs.
Thank you so much for joining us today for our Falcon live chat on the orientation experience. If you are new to our Falcon live chat series, just a little bit of information about them. They are opportunities for us to bring a little bit of campus, our community, and our resources to our family members. We recognize that our family members and our students are from all around the world and engaging in lots of different experiences. And so just trying to make sure that we have an opportunity to connect with you all live if possible. And if folks aren't able to join us live, then we do record these sessions, and then they are available in our on our Bentley orientation YouTube channel, and you can access that by either Googling Bentley Orientation YouTube or going to our website, which is bentley.edu/orientation, and then clicking on our Parents and Families tab. And there are many resources there, including the link to our YouTube channel. In addition to this live chat, we have many that we have hosted this past summer and previous summers as well. So please feel free to take a look at that resource, access that information. It has been really helpful for our families just to be able to hear some more about the resources, hear some of the questions that other family members are asking as you begin to prepare for this next chapter. As I noted, this is being recorded, so if you are viewing this as a recording, please feel free to email us with any questions that are not answered throughout the presentation, and you can reach us at orientation.bentley.edu. And of course, if we cannot get to your question today, please feel free to email us at that address as well, and we will work to find you that answer or connect you with the staff member who will be able to help you out. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So the path to orientation has many different components. We actually have a tiered orientation experience. So we like to think about how do different components kind of lead to the next piece. We know this is a lot of information. We know this is a huge next chapter, next step for our students and families. And so we really try to take the approach of how do we start to layer on some information so that it's digestible, that our students and families can ask questions, and so that we can get to the point where our students are arriving on campus. So just quickly, we're going to dig into each of these pieces individually, but components to the orientation experience include aspects of our onboarding program for students. So that's our new student checklist. These are the different tasks that our students have been engaging in and completing. We also have our online orientation experience that our students complete in June, and family members also have access to that resource as well. We then layer in our course registration process for our students. We partner this with some virtual engagement opportunities, our family resources and live chats, and then our fall orientation. So all of this builds up to our program, which occurs for our new students on September 1st when they arrive on campus. And we're going to dig into this a little bit more. But we think it's really important to keep in mind what are some of our goals that we have for any of this programming with our new students, our new community members, really making sure that we are welcoming our new Falcons to the university setting. So whether this is their first time at college, whether this is your first experience with the college life, we want to make sure that we can really introduce the university setting to our students and our families. And we want to do that through intentional opportunities for interaction with the community, whether that be virtual, whether that be in person, on our campus, in local communities. We just want to make sure that we start to provide that introduction. Values are a huge piece of our community. So making sure that our students and our families have a shared understanding of rights and responsibilities. What are our core values? What are expected of our community members? How can we hold each other accountable? And how do we make sure that our community stays safe and is led by our values? Academics, of course, this is the reason why your students are coming to Bentley is our top-notch academics. And so we want to make sure that they're able to, understand what are the academic resources that they have available. Even if they got straight A's in high school and never used any type of resource, and were able to excel, there are so many resources that they may need to access when they are at Bentley. So we want to make sure that they know what those resources are so that they're able to use them and normalize the fact that these resources are here for a reason and we want you to thrive and succeed. So make sure that you're using them. I think another major component, while we know our students are coming from this top-notch academic experience, there's a lot that happens outside of the classroom. And so making sure that our students understand, what they can take advantage of and what really rounds out this experience of being a Bentley Falcon. So whether, that's different program opportunities, whether that's service opportunities, on campus employment, whatever that might be, we just want to make sure that students are aware of those opportunities to connect and find their opportunity to belong as a part of our community. And I think a big part of that is also introducing our community members to our traditions. So something that's really great about being at an institution that's over 100 years old is that we have a lot of longstanding traditions that our students and our families get to be a part of. And so making sure that they are aware of what those opportunities and traditions are and how they can continue to help us write what this story is as a community. We're going to get started digging a little bit deeper into some of those pieces that we mentioned earlier.
Sure. So one of these pieces is the new student checklist. So this was sent out in May to your students, and this checklist outlines all of the mandatory tasks and resources available to you and your student. In order to complete these tasks, your student could access them through the new student checklist on the Bentley Connect portal. And if your student has any incomplete tasks at this time, please make sure that they are able to log in and can complete those as soon as possible. And then some of these summer tasks and summer checklist items, they include setting up their Bentley email account, reviewing their new student guide, completing our online orientation program, submitting the housing and meal plan applications, submitting a photo for their Falcon ID. So really a snapshot of the various tasks that they've had throughout the summer. And you can also find this information in the new student guide with more details.
And I think, as Caroline was mentioning, there's a lot of tasks. So there is no expectation that folks are reading everything on that slide. But I do think it really is important to note that if your student has not completed one of those tasks, it is okay. We are happy to work with them or connect them with the staff member that is overseeing those tasks. So if you go back and you connect with them and they are like, I haven't done anything, which cannot be the case because we've been following up with students, but they're like, I have not done this, then we can definitely work with them to make sure that they can get that completed. Another part of this experience is our online orientation program. And so this is called Bentley Beginnings. And this is a way to essentially take what our students were learning through the admission process and an understanding of what are the resources and really bringing it to this tangible, okay, I've heard these resources. How do I use them? What is my experience going to look like? How do I actually get started? And so this is a really great opportunity for the students to really start to dig in a little bit more. If you have not seen this resource, you have access to this as well. You can create a guest account. This is available on our website, as I mentioned. You can also just go to orientation.bentley.edu and you'll be able to find it there as well. It doesn't take a whole lot of time, but I do think it just gives a really great start for students to start thinking about, what do I need to be learning more about? How do I set myself up for success? What are some of the resources that I should be thinking a little bit more about? So if you haven't checked that out yet, I would highly encourage you to do so. It is a really helpful resource. Another piece that you may have already experienced or will be experiencing tomorrow is our new student registration. And so our new student registration process is a comprehensive experience where students went through a formal webinar where they got an overview of how to use software, what are the different aspects of the curriculum that our students should be mindful of. Our first year is pretty prescriptive, so there's not as much flexibility with it, but really making sure that students have a chance to think a little bit more about some of those pieces. And then there were opportunities to connect with some of our advising team, some of the faculty and staff, prior to registration, and then logging in that day to go in and get your courses. We do separate out the first year and the transfer experience, just knowing that our transfer students are probably coming in with more credits than maybe some of our first year students may be coming in with. And so, so we do have those as a separate process. With all of that being said, if we have any first year students who were unable to participate in course registration on that July 20th date, they were invited to come into a makeup date. So you should have received that information. And what I would say is if your student has already created their schedule, but they do have questions or they feel like, maybe I need to make some adjustments, during orientation on September 2nd, we will be having some on-site registration support. So that way your student will be able to make any of those changes that they might need to, and have the support of the staff on site to ensure that they're getting into a section and that they're able to have that full schedule as they start classes that next week.
So throughout the summer, we have hosted a lot of different opportunities for students to be able to start engaging with other students throughout their onboarding process. So we've been able to have them connect with current students through our Welcome Falcons account, which is run by one of our student coordinators. And we also have virtual office hours every Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So if anyone has any questions, they're able to access us through those office hours as well. We have sent out monthly new Falcon newsletters, so June, July, and we just sent out our August newsletter today, which really highlights a bunch of different resources on campus and ways for your students to get involved in those different opportunities. And then we also have monthly synchronous social events. So we've been able to have some trivia events. We have a bingo event coming up soon. And then we also have an opportunity for your students to connect with our student coordinators, and that will happen on August 17th. So they'll be able to ask any questions that they may have prior to arriving on campus for orientation. So just some ways for them to start connecting with our community before September.
Wonderful. And I do want to just make a quick note. I know that some folks have been submitting questions and answers. We will get to those once we wrap up some of the content. So please know we're not ignoring your questions. Please feel free to submit questions using the Q&A button. We just want to cover some of the content and then we will open up space for question and answer. So for our family members, we have some robust resources that we offer up. We recognize that not every family member is able to join us on move-in day. And so we like to take that layered approach with our family members as well of providing resources in an accessible fashion that allows you to fit them in when it is most convenient for you. So some of those resources are the launch of our new student guide. As Caroline mentioned, it is pretty robust, a lot of detail, a lot of information. If you have not reviewed it, I highly encourage you to. There's just a lot of really important information that is not only for the new student experience, but will carry with your student throughout. So please consider viewing that if you haven't. Then our online orientation program, as I mentioned, you can create an account with just creating a guest account, and you have access to the same information that your student does. We have a student affairs video series. So these are a variety of offices that work directly in more of a student support role with our new Falcons. That is available on our orientation website. So again, another great resource to just familiarize yourself with what is available for my student. How might they interact or engage with some of these different offices? If they're chatting with me and I know that, maybe they need to check in with an office, by viewing some of these resources, it gives you some of that knowledge to be able to help to refer back when they're reaching out to you. As Caroline mentioned, we have a monthly newsletter that we've been sending to folks over this past summer. We've had many Falcon Live chat sessions, so please go back and take a look at those through our YouTube channel if you have not participated live. We've had sessions with the residential center, so living on campus. We've had sessions with staff from financial aid, so thinking about funding and financing your students' education. We've had representatives from health and wellness to think a little bit about what is that balance, what do students need to be successful. So there is a wide range of resources that are available on that YouTube channel if you haven't viewed them yet. And then some quick plugs that I just want to give. If you do find that you are coming to campus on move-in day, we do have a lunch for our families and students that is available on that day. We also have a vendor fair, which highlights some campus partners, but then also some external vendors. So if your student needs to set up a bank account in the area, or if they need to connect with a local phone company, whatever that might be, we bring in some of those resources. They've been particularly helpful for some of our students who are joining us from outside of the US. So it's been helpful to be able to have those resources there and accessible right on site. And then we do have our convocation ceremony, which takes place at 3 p.m. We do ask for anyone that is staying for that event just to make sure that you are down in our arena for 2:45. It takes a little bit of time to get all of those people into one space. So please make sure that you are down there and start on time. The other thing that I like to always share with families is that our student orientation program begins right after convocation. So we highly encourage you to have some of your see you soon family farewell moments before going into convocations, as the students do sit separately because there's some formality that goes into that with the traditions. And then right from there, they do transition into orientation. So we want to make sure that you have that opportunity and chance to be with your student before you go into the arena. And then a few opportunities for our families. So on September 20th, we are doing a post-orientation virtual workshop. So this will be an opportunity for you to learn a little bit about what your students experience during orientation, what are some of the upcoming additional programs that they can expect to be a part of, what are some of our philosophies around supporting students, what are some of our focus areas, particularly with academics or opportunities to engage with our Bentley Plus program. And then there's also a chance to connect and ask questions of some current students. So if you have not signed up for that, definitely encourage you to do so. And then if you are looking for an opportunity to be a part of one of our Bentley traditions and come back and visit your student, we do have our Falcon Weekend program, which kicks off on October 21st. You can find more information on the Bentley website about that program, but it is a really great moment for our community where we have families, alumni, current students, current friends faculty, staff, all come together to be able to celebrate our community. So if you are available and able to join us for that event, it is a really nice opportunity for our community. So those are just a few pieces of what we offer for our parents and families as they prepare for their students' arrival to Bentley. So I keep talking about this new student orientation, and as I mentioned, we do layer this, but a big portion of this experience for your student is when they are preparing to arrive for campus. So a few highlights of some components that are left to do that lead up to orientation. So we have all students complete some self-guided learning courses that they will gain access to next week. And these courses cover a variety of topics, some of them being community health and safety, healthy relationships, alcohol education, inclusion, connection, and belonging. So there's a variety of topics, but we really like to make sure that students have a chance to do some of this work self-guided so that they can take in some of this information, digest it, get some common foundation. And then what we do is we dig into that even more once they get on campus. So again, we're ensuring that there's some common experience and knowledge around what are some of our values, what are our responsibilities, what can you expect from this experience. So please, let your student know that they'll be receiving information about that soon. And we do ask that students complete that prior to orientation so that it gives them that common knowledge when they're going into the program. Another opportunity, this is not mandatory, but we've had many students take advantage of this, is our virtual orientation group meetup. And so this happens on August 28th. And this is a chance for your student to be able to meet their orientation leader, which is an upper class student, traditionally a sophomore, junior, or senior, who helps to mentor them through the orientation experience and beyond. So they get to help them to kind of know the ins and outs of Bentley and just be somebody that can ask those questions once classes have started and we're technically out of orientation. That relationship doesn't end. This student leader is there to really help to support your student in that first year. And we've received feedback from our students last year that this was a great opportunity just to have some familiar faces when they arrive on campus. So again, highly encourage your student to join us for that August 28th if they're able to. We recognize that some people might be traveling and they may not have access. That is completely okay. Your student will have more than enough time with their group during the orientation program, but if they're able to access it, it is a nice opportunity before we start the formal program. And then we get into the actual on-campus experience, which takes place September 1st through the 5th. I would say the bulk of the programming that we offer is really September 1st through the 4th. And then on the 5th, we want to make sure that there's a little bit of space for your student to relax, re-energize, and prepare, knowing that they're going to start classes on the 6th. So we will have programs happening on campus, but if they also just need a moment to collect themselves and re-energize before they're heading into classes, that's completely okay on the 5th as well. But that bulk of the programming will really be happening on that September 1st through 4th.
And so we have a lot planned during those days. So we'll have a lot of different sessions and go over a lot of different items that will help your student to be successful at Bentley. But a few highlights that we wanted to talk more about today were our small group experiences. So your students will be placed in a small group led by one of our orientation leaders. And these groups will meet a few times throughout the orientation program. So they'll be able to do some icebreakers with their peers, but also will get to check in and debrief some of the sessions that they're learning throughout that weekend. So it is a great resource for them to connect on a little bit of a deeper level with a smaller group of students while also connecting with their orientation leader. And then on Friday, our topics for that day are really focused on academic overview. So they will have the opportunity to learn more about academics at Bentley, and then they will have an opportunity to connect with various campus resources in that afternoon. So if they want to learn about a specific office, they can check in with that, but we will have a scavenger hunt for them to really incentivize going and meeting all of these different resources that they may need throughout their time. And then on Saturday, our theme for that day is really community and what does it mean to be a Bentley Falcon. And so we have a keynote that day, and his name is Ken Wadike, and he is a peace activist and actually has ties with Boston through the Free Hugs movement during the Boston Marathon. So we're really excited about that keynote, and that will take place on Saturday afternoon. So just a few little pieces and highlights for the orientation program. And then as your student is starting to build connections with their peers, we do have social programming every single night. So each night we'll have an opportunity for students to connect with each other, to sing karaoke or play trivia or mini golf, but also have space for them to make items for their room to start decorating their dorm rooms, or really just connecting more with their roommates or other people in their halls. So we have a lot of different events being planned. We have a block party, a bingo game, and then a Falcons After Dark program where we'll have a lot of different items taking place in the student center for students to get acquainted with that space and just start to build all those connections.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important piece that Caroline shared is there's a lot of content we're going to cover, and there's a lot that they need to do to prepare to be a Falcon. And we want to make sure that they're having some fun. We want to make sure that they're meeting their friends and making those networks right from the start. It's only going to increase their, their opportunity to feel a connection and feel a sense of belonging. So we like to really find that balance of where's the information, how do we ensure that students have resources, and how do we make sure that students are feeling supported? How do we make sure that students understand how they can create this balance of wellness and academics and having fun and socializing? And so making sure that they have some of that information from the start. And I will also put in a shameless plug. Bingo is such a big deal at Bentley. I do not know why, but our students just get so excited. We have some traditional events that happen around this where they do some really big prizes, and the students they pack our Dana Center, which, I mean, my goodness, it's just so exciting to see the students get so excited. Personally, but I just remember when I started working at Bentley and they're like, yeah, bingo's such a big deal. So if you hear your student talking about bingo, just know that it is a Bentley tradition and something they are really excited to be a part of. So what are some important next steps for your students? Things that you might want to check in with them on, things that you can be mindful of. We know that it is going to be a busy August for you and your family as you prepare for this important next step. But again, just want to keep some pieces top of mind. So please encourage your student to be going to their checklist on Bentley Connect and making sure that everything has been completed. If they still have something missing, let them know that they can reach out to staff. We are happy to help them. We just want to make sure that they have those set as they're coming to campus. So it's one less thing to have to worry about. We have those self-guided learning courses that will be launching to students soon. So again, if you hear them talking about them, just make sure that they're completing them. It's really gonna be beneficial for them to have those done before orientation. As I mentioned, we will dig into some of these topics in a little bit deeper fashion, and having some of that foundational knowledge. We've received feedback from our students that it's been really helpful because they can show up with some level of understanding and feel like that gives them a space to share more and to be able to feel like they can get more out of it. Then we have that optional experience on August 28th for our virtual meet and greet. And then the last piece I would highly encourage is in the next few weeks, we will be sending out our orientation app to our students, and this will have the schedule. This is also the app that our students use to be able to know about the different clubs and organizations, to be able to attend the other events. So while we do use this for orientation, they will use this far beyond. So it's not just a one and done event type app that they might be downloading. It will be something that they'll continue to use throughout their time at Bentley. So if you hear them chatting about that, please encourage them to make sure that they're doing that as well. And then we are going to open it up to questions. So please feel free to keep putting them in our Q&A feature here. But just so that you know ways to contact us beyond this live chat, please feel free to reach out to us via email. Caroline and I check that all the time. So please feel free to email us. You're welcome to call us if that is more convenient. And you can also go to our website, which is orientation. I'm sorry, our website is bentley.edu/orientation. And then our social media you can find here. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that you are able to see us. And we're happy to answer these questions. As I mentioned, if there's something we're unable to answer right now, we will make sure that we can get that to you. All you have to do is just email us at that orientation email account, and we'd be happy to get you those responses. So let's take a quick look at some of these questions. We have a question that came in about, is there a list of books that students need to purchase? So once your student has their schedule created, what they're able to do is look on they can connect with the bookstore and give them the course numbers for the class, and they can share that with them. Also, faculty members will connect what's called Blackboard. So they use a system called Blackboard, which is a way for our students to interact with their faculty. They might submit coursework through that. So your student could also look on Blackboard to see if that information is up there. I have heard two different schools of thought on this. This is not necessarily Bentley speaking. This is me speaking based on what I've heard from students. I think sometimes students will order their books ahead of time. They'll work with the bookstore. They'll get that all situated and they're good to go. I've heard some students will wait until that first week of classes just to make sure that they have everything in order. I think it's really going to be dependent on what your student's style is. The bookstore will be able to help them out. You know, I think our faculty members are going to be really clear with our students of what they need and don't need. But the bookstore is going to be able to give you that list. So it's going to be completely up to you whether you get them beforehand or if you want to get them that first week. But the bookstore is going to be a great resource for you. And as I mentioned, you can use those course registration numbers with the bookstore, or you can also check Blackboard to see if the faculty member has published that information yet. In regards to a list of supplies that need to be purchased, I'm not sure if this is more for students living on campus or school supplies in general. I'm not sure, but what I will offer up is that in our newsletter that launched today, we do have a list of some of the suggested items that current students have offered up that were helpful in their first year. So I would start there. I would also say when you take a look at that list, everything is not necessary. Like our students said, have AirPods, and that's not necessary, but for them it was helpful. So I would say, you know, take that with a grain of salt if you are looking at that list. Caroline, I don't know if there was anything else with the supplies that you wanted to share or offer up.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So then we had another question about, when do students find out December exam schedules? We are looking to be able to go on vacation. We just want to know what that looks like. So if you were to look at the academic calendar now, you will see that there are a select number of days that faculty members will use for the final schedule. What I would encourage is once your student actually gets into class, I would encourage them connecting with the faculty member there. They usually will section out what that is, but faculty members have, if students have 3 finals scheduled on one day, we'll work with students to adjust that. So I would encourage your student to talk with their faculty members that first week of class, so that way you can try to get that information beforehand. But it's not necessarily information that is hidden. So if they don't talk to their faculty member, that can also be, available on the academic website. I encourage our students to talk to the faculty because they might be able to work with them differently. So I would just encourage that.
For walking down to convocation, students will walk down there, but we will have signage pointing down to the arena on Lower Campus, and we will have our orientation team members helping to direct people as well. So it's not too far of a walk from the halls that they will be living in, but they will be walking down there.
Yeah, and I would offer up too, if there's anybody, that needs some support during that time, we will have some extra golf carts on campus that day too. So we're also happy to help some folks down as well. There was a question about when students receive their roommates. So that information was sent out to students already. If your student has not checked their housing portal, then they can go ahead and do that. And all of that information is there. So that will include where they're living, who their roommates are. So I would highly encourage, if your student hasn't checked their portal, to do that. If there are any questions around that, you can also email housing@bentley.edu and talk with a staff member from the residential center. But they did confirm with us that all students have received that information. All right, so there is a question about if we have some students who are arriving on the 31st. So we do have a few defined communities. So these are communities within our first year residence halls that students can apply to be a part of. And if students are arriving on that Wednesday, they will move into their residence hall space. Then we will have a small reception for family members who are sticking around post move-in. Then students will be able to go to dinner with their resident assistant. And so the resident assistants are upper class staff members that live in the residence halls, and they support your students. So this can be by putting on programs. This is, they're available throughout the buildings to help with any type of issues, concerns, crisis that might come up. They're, an extension of staff. So they're really there to help to support your student in any way that they can. So the students will be able to go to dinner with their resident assistant, or RA as we call them, on our campus. And then that evening, there is a leadership workshop that the students will participate in. The next day will really be more of an opportunity to get settled in, knowing that that first day is really active for them. And while the other students are moving onto campus, they'll be getting settled in, and then they will start the rest of the orientation experience with the students. We have gotten questions in the past of, if families are arriving on that Wednesday, should they stick around till the next day? That is completely up to you and what your preference is. We will have the convocation ceremony live streamed and a recording. So you will still be able to view that if that's something that you're interested in. But by no means is there an expectation that staff have to, or I'm sorry, that families need to stay into that next day. All right, there are a few questions about how to access Blackboard. So really helpful tip for our students, and we will share this with them, but something that you can also share is, if you go to my.bentley.edu, that is a whole landing page with all of the different like portals and softwares that your students might use. So Workday is probably something that you may have heard or accessed. when you're thinking about bill pay. So that can be accessed there. Blackboard can be accessed along with some other applications. So I highly encourage students, and you can also encourage your student to go to my.bentley.edu, and that's where they'll be able to find those landing pages. There was a follow-up question about convocation, and it is not a formal attire. We recognize that people are moving in that day, and you are not going to be dressed into the nines. So whatever you are in that is comfortable, that is completely fine. The faculty will be robed. It's just part of the tradition and pomp and circumstance of that day, but there's no expectation that people are changing or are showing up in any type of formal attire. After that experience, students are going right into orientation. So please know that whatever you are in is completely fine. There's no expectation to dress formal for that. We did have one question about the Falcon newsletters and if people aren't receiving them. If you are not receiving them, if you want to email orientation@bentley.edu, we can provide you with a link that will allow you to add your information to the Bentley system, which is really helpful, not just for the newsletters, but that information will then translate into additional communications that might be sent out throughout the year. So if you have not created an account, please feel free to email us and we're happy to share that link with you. And I would say for any of the questions specific to classes, whether that's a wait list or a class that you might want to switch, what I would highly encourage is for your student on September 2nd during orientation to meet with the academic services team. We have specific time designated for students to be able to access the staff right in person, walk through what those options are, and make sure that, if there was a wait list, giving them an update on what that might look like, or if they need to shift classes, being able to do that in person. Right now, they're not able to make any changes until they open that up on September 2nd. And that's for any student. So if there's a current Bentley student, they cannot make any changes until that September 2nd mark too. So do not stress about, oh my goodness, it's August 2nd right now, and there's a whole month until my student is going to connect with a staff member. Right now, that is not open for any student until that September 2nd date.
For the question about returning from break and the winter intensive, our spring semester will start on January 23rd. And the winter intensive will take place from the 17th through the 21st of January.
Yeah, and what I would add with that is the winter intensive is not an expectation that your student does, that it participates in that. But if there is a course that your student's really interested in, they are welcome to sign up for that if they want, but it is not an expectation that students are participating in the winter intensive. And when you do look at the schedule, you will see that there is an undergraduate student orientation on that January 19th. That is for our students who are joining us in the spring. So your student, since they're joining in the fall, they'll participate in this program in September. And then that program that happens in the spring is for those students who will join us in January. So there was a question about being in the housing portal and not seeing their information. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to reach out to the residential center staff. Caroline and I unfortunately can't see the housing portal right now, so I'm not able to individually pull up people. But if you do email housing@bentley.edu, they'll be able to work with you specifically in making sure that you have access to that information. These are a lot of really great questions, so thank you all for putting them in there. What I would say is if there was something that we didn't get to today or something that you think of in the next few weeks, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to, like I said, either answer the questions if we have them, or direct you and connect you to the appropriate people. We do have 2 more live chats that will be happening over the next few weeks. So one is on getting involved on campus. And so this is a chance to learn a little bit more about clubs and organizations. Also ways for our family members to get connected through our Office of Alumni and Family Engagement. So if you are interested, that will be happening next Tuesday. And then that following Tuesday is a session on community expectations with our Office of Student Conduct. So just having a better sense of understanding their process, understanding their rights and responsibilities. So if your students are asking you these questions, just good information to have. Again, if you cannot attend live, we completely understand. We know everyone are in different time zones and could be working, caring for family, could be doing service, whatever your experience might be, but they are available through our recordings on our YouTube channel. So please make sure that you are checking that out if you haven't done so already. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. And we look forward to seeing you here in just a few short weeks. So thanks so much, and we will see you all soon.